You're listening to
Catholic Sprouts,
the daily podcast for Catholic kids that strives to plant seeds of faith. Hey there, Sprouts. Today is Friday, November 5th, 2021. All week, we have been looking at incredible saints that offer us examples of how Jesus Christ and His church, the Catholic Church, really can transform us into the best versions of ourselves so that we too can become saints one day. We've already looked at St. Francis, St. Edith Stein, St. Joseph of Cupertino, and today we are going to look at a young woman well on her way to becoming a saint. She is Italian and very modern. In fact, she lived in the 1980s, and her name is Blessed Chiara Bandano. Blessed Chiara Bandano was kind of a miracle baby. Her parents got married, but for years, even though they wanted to have a big family, they could not get pregnant. They couldn't have any babies. Finally, out of desperation, her parents made a pilgrimage and begged the Lord for a baby. And 9 months later, Chiara was born. She was an only child, the beloved daughter, and even from a young age, she was devoted to Jesus Christ. She gave much of her time to youth groups that brought her closer to Jesus, that taught her how to find Him in Scripture, and she also spoke about Jesus to her friends often. But then something very sad happened. When she was still a teenager, Chiara was diagnosed with a very aggressive type of cancer. She was very sad. But because she knew Jesus and she loved Jesus, moments after her diagnosis, she looked at a crucifix and said simply, "Christ, if this is what you want, then I want it too." Each step of the way, and it was a very painful journey through cancer for her, through painful treatments and painful side effects, Chiara always looked to Jesus and said, "Lord, if you want this, then I want it too." Probably the hardest moment for her as she suffered through cancer was when she lost her hair. Due to the treatments she received to fight the cancer, her hair began to fall out, and her mother shaved off her last few pieces of hair. Chiara cried. She loved her hair. But then she gathered it in her fist and once again looked at the crucifix and said, "Christ, if you want this, then I want it too." The beautiful thing about Chiara Bandano is that as she suffered and even near death, people would come to visit her thinking that she would be weak and sad and that they would need to come and cheer her up. But when they arrived, they found the opposite was true, that she was joyful, and oftentimes she made them feel more joyful and happy. She really did surrender to the will of God and said with every breath, "Christ, if you want this, then I want it too." Chiara Bandano died when she was still very young, and she died after a very hard and painful battle with cancer. But she asked that when she be prepared for her funeral, that she be dressed in a wedding gown, because she knew that she was going to heaven, and that when she was there, she would meet her true bridegroom, Jesus Christ. Chiara Bandano is an incredible example for us, but especially for young people, because we don't have to be old, gray-haired people to be saints. We're called to be saints right now. And oftentimes, Christ uses the hard things, the moments of suffering, to call us closer to Him. And so my challenge for you today is to find one small pain. Maybe it's something that's annoying. Maybe it's something that actually hurts you. But to pause, to try to pause and say, just like Chiara Bandano, "Christ, if you want this for me, then I want it too." That's it for Catholic Sprouts today. We'll be back tomorrow. But until then, continue to grow in your faith and truly sprout into the beautiful creation that God created you to be. just one more thing, friends. We are excited to announce that next week, November 8th, we will be launching a book we've been working on for about a year and a half. It is called The Saints and the Call to Friendship with Jesus Christ. It is a look at how everything we feel, all those good and bad feelings, are truly a prompting to be a friend of Christ, also known as a saint. We have poured our hearts out into this book, and we cannot wait to share it with you on Monday. So mark your calendars and look forward to hearing more about it next week.
This show is a production of the Spoke Street Media Podcast Network. For more great podcasts, visit spokestreet.com.